Welcome back. I'm John Furrier, host of theCUBE here at the New York Stock Exchange CUBE studios, of course. We have our studio in Palo Alto, California, connecting Silicon Valley and Wall Street. This is our AI Factory series where we talk to the leaders who are making a difference in accelerating the future of AI native applications, and setting the foundation for the scalable infrastructure. A lot of build out going on, a lot of activity. Alexis Crowell is here, CMO and President of Americas, Axelera AI. Alexis, thanks for coming on theCUBE, really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So, you guys are in the AI infrastructure business, so talk about what you guys do. Then I want to get into some of these conversations around AI factories at the edge, how the computing and infrastructure is evolving. So set the table.
Sure. So the short version is we do inference specifically. So we started really honing in on how do you do high performance inference in a very low wattage footprint. So we actually started at the edge. So we do, 4 to 8 watts range, but you can run an 8 billion parameter model. You can do thousands of frames per second when it comes to computer vision, all with the predication of, we think inference is going to be the future of what gets run the most. So that's what we do. We do inference specifically, started at edge, but now we're actually scaling into the data centers.
Inference is the hottest area. We saw Grok get hired by NVIDIA. You're starting to see now developers and hardware and software manufacturers, wireless, and even the telco infrastructure and the carriers really looking at how do they deploy AI in their network and data. Obviously power is a huge issue. You guys nailed that. What specifically are you guys doing? What's the secret sauce? What's the product?
Sure. We took a different approach. So our CEO was incredibly intentional when he built the company. And what he did was he looked at all of the different methodologies to build silicon, basically, and honed in on the best research at the time indicated that digital in-memory compute was going to be the best way. So what does that mean in layman's terms? Yeah. Basically, it means the memory and the compute happen in the same location. Because one of the biggest bottlenecks typically for doing this type of computing is how do you move the data around? So we keep all of the data together, which is what makes this different for us. That's how we can get a lot of performance into a small footprint.
Alexis, talk about the use cases that you guys are seeing at the edge. What specifically is it? The classic computer vision? Is it like specific to industries, or is it more horizontal? What are some of the things you guys are seeing?
That's a great question, John. So we do horizontal. Our goal is to make hardware plus software that's applicable everywhere. But in terms of kind of the fastest adopters, absolutely, classic computer vision. So think like retail and how are companies doing inventory management, supply chain management. We've got one customer that has figured out if they know how many donuts are on their shelves, they can predict what their sales are going to be. So they've actually networked a number of their stores together on a single one of our systems. And then they watch it every second. They have a live count of how many donuts are, because that completely changes whether or not they make their sales quotas for the day or not.
Yeah.
In defense, that's a really big space. Surveillance. How are we looking at not surveillance so much of people, but of spacing, right? What's happening within our environments.
How about robotics? In terms of robotics, yeah. Physical AI is the hottest thing. We'll hear that at
Absolutely.
GTC, we're going to hear that at MWC.
Yeah, physical AI, for us, that's kind of where we started, right? When you start at the edge, it really manifests itself in physical AI. So whether it's more of the traditional machine robotics in terms of like single arm, how are you connecting machineries together on a factory line, to we've got one partner, Kudelski. They've built out a robot dog that does like perimeter surveillance and security to make sure that the people on the property are exactly who you would want it to be. So absolutely, robotics is a huge one, but you really need that high performance, low power footprint to make that work.
Yeah, and the inference is like the brain working. It's like you get trained, then you infer. That's how you apply the training. We've been seeing the waves of Gen AI, the foundation models and specialty models, and then you see the agent wave. Physical AI is like the third kind of wave, but you guys have kind of pulled that forward. How do you see agents? Because agents are just a mechanism for a lot of inference, a lot of delegation, but it also is a path into physical.
Agents, from our perspective, are another way to leverage AI as a tool, right? It's really a matter of how are you querying your data. everyone on the planet is creating data at exponential rates. And we look at agents as a mechanism to figure out how can you do something real with that data. So our current product line, I was really targeting more of kind of that classic CV language model, Gen AI type of approach. But our next product line called Europa will be a sweet spot for how do you leverage those agents at the edge, right? So kind of to how are people leveraging their own models within their own environments, right? If I only want an agent to pay attention to my data but not have access to everything else, then a model like this or a product like this allows you to do that more consistently within your own environment.
What I like about what you guys are doing is like NVIDIA and others, you're bringing AI technology to existing things like the edge. MWC is coming up next week. We'll be there introducing kind of our new narratives around how we see the edge hyper-converging. It's almost funny, the data center converged storage networking can compute, what, 17 years ago? That was the big hot thing, then it unbundled. But now you have the convergence at the edge because you got wireless, you got wireline, you have a lot of things going on. There's diversity in power on the energy side, but you're still connected, you got power. How do you guys see this AI factors at the edge? Because our thesis is if you bring a factory to the edge, it could be the size of a brick, a DGX box, or another piece of hardware. It doesn't have to be that big. It could be a small footprint. What happens?
Absolutely.
What's your reaction to that? And what happens if the edge hyper-converges?
I mean, I've been in this industry for almost 20 years, so I feel like I've seen a lot of these waves. I think this is the right next step. And the reason both Axelera is investing in it and why we're a part of this is we think the closer the compute, the compute moves to where the data is, the faster people are going to be able to make decisions, the faster you're going to be able to react to what's going on around you. So I love this convergence because to me, what it's doing is it's pushing more and more of that compute to be real time, right? If I see something happening right in front of me as a human, my brain is instantly computing what I should do about that, right? And we think that there's this capability of bringing that artificial compute, right? And instead of your brain computing it, but a computer actually looking at it closer to where that data is, then everybody ends up with a better solution, right? You still may need people watching it, or you may need an alert coming back to a centralized location, but that real-time understanding gets us more and more towards what a human brain would compute if you had a person watching that instance.
Alexis, as the training and inference evolves, the edge is different. It's not seeing old data, it's seeing fresh data. And you mentioned real time. Real time information is fresh data. It's also a lot of opportunities, but it's also technically challenging.
You're right. It is technically challenging because, just like a human, as we learn in the moment, we constantly basically retrain, reprogram ourselves. Compute is not currently designed to go do that. So you have to do it in software layers. You have to do it with capabilities like RAGs, where you think a little bit differently about how you're bringing new information into it. What really I'm excited about, though, is that hardware software co-design capability that so many more companies are leaning in on, I think is solving that as we look forward. I don't think we're there yet, but I think that there's this opportunity where when the hardware and the software are so tightly interconnected that we can create these better integration points for that real-time what used to be reinforcement learning, but is now just this net new capability to react in the instant.
I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities at the edge. Obviously, IoT is converting into full Gen AI. Talk about the company momentum. If you can take a minute to explain some of the things you guys are working on, successes, so folks don't know a lot about what you guys are doing. Share some of the stats and momentum points.
I appreciate the question, John. So Axelera has been around for a little over 5 years. And what I love about it is we haven't had a traditional kind of launch for a 5-year company, especially in silicon, right? Silicon typically takes a long time to really get right. And what Axelera has been able to do is we've brought in experts throughout the industry. If you look at our leadership team, it's ex-NVIDIA, ex-Intel, ex-Google, Qualcomm, AMD, kind of the folks that really know what they're doing. And in 4 years, we've taped out 4 chips. right? And we've taken two of those into full production. We're deployed globally. I'm on 4 different continents in terms of customers. I've got people in 20 countries. So we're in a really good space in terms of being able to fulfill this need of what customers have told us they wanted, right? They want compute at the edge. They want to be able to solve for this massive data growth that they've had. And Fabrizio, who's our co-founder but CEO, his premise was, if we could solve for that, we can take that architecture and scale it up. There's not really been a good success story of someone starting in a data center and being able to scale that infrastructure into an edge environment. So we think we've got the starting point right, because now we have performance efficiency and power efficiency at high performance that can now scale into data center solutions and server solutions going forward.
Yeah, I love the mission. I love the success, and I brought it up because I think this is a tipping point for the industry. The true intelligent edge, not just some manufacturing or some use case. We're talking about a generative AI-like experience everywhere. I mean, look at the power.
That's right.
I mean, power requirements you don't need to worry about. I mean, the big data centers do, but if you're at the edge, if you're a telco provider, you got a base station, you got a cabinet, you can put a device in there with software, connect it to another factory, office space, retail, all have power, and you guys nailed that power envelope. We think this is going to open up massive acceleration in value propositions, and I know you do too. What would you think those would be? Because some of the things that are going to be net new are going to emerge fast. What are some of the things you see evolving that'll be use cases that were hard to do pre-AI?
Well, I mean, again, I think AI is a tool from an inference perspective that's going to support every use case over time, right? If you look at medical, I think medical is a great scenario for this because there's a scarcity of clinicians. According to the World Health Organization, there's 10 million fewer clinicians than what we need worldwide. If you bring AI into that, now not only can you read radiology scans faster, you can point doctors towards, hey, maybe you haven't seen this type of disease, but we've seen this in other parts of the world. Maybe you need to think about this as a diagnostic answer to what's going on in that human. That to me is huge, huge kind of untapped ground because we haven't brought it there yet in math. There's pockets. There's amazing pockets, but we haven't brought it there in mass. And I think that what that brings to both humanity, but also candidly from a business perspective is amazing. So I think medical is this absolute boom. Yeah. It's going to take a little bit with regulation, but to me, there's so much opportunity there. And that you do want locally because you don't want that patient's data going everywhere. Yeah. You want that patient's data staying with their doctor. And then there's how do we make inference available everywhere in the retail scenarios, in the smart city, smart parking, right? It's amazing how much gas is wasted in cities these days of people trying to drive around and figure out where to park. We can solve that, right? If you solve it at the edge, it's kind of done because it's just available. Yeah. So to me, like this is literally, the sky is the limit on what we can go do. It's really limited by imagination, it's no longer limited by compute, which to me is really, really exciting.
Well, you guys doing a great job. I remember the 90s, grid computing was a hot term. Now we're might actually see a lot more connected intelligence. Alexis, thank you so much for coming on our AI Factory show. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to meeting you in person on theCUBE. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
I'm John Furrier with theCUBE. We are here at our NYSE studios with our AI Factory series. AI Factories are the centers powering the intelligence, the tokens, the software. It's coming to the edge. We'll see a lot more configurations. Of course, we're bringing you all the action here. Thanks for watching.